I had bits over the years from you about how you started, but never really the story of how you actually started, how the whole business started up.
Well, we had really started when I went to Singapore. I was on the way back from Indonesia. We'd been doing a commissioning job in Balikpapan, and I came back, and the guy that had contracted with me in Indonesia, a guy called Ali Susanto, he was working in partnership with a company called Vanderhorst in Singapore. And Vanderhorst were a marine engineering workshop. They had about 300 people employed in they did piston reconditioning, liners, heads, bearings, crankshafts, everything. They repaired engines, and they wanted to get into the power industry. So I went along to see them, and they asked if I could start with them, and they gave me a secretary, and they gave me 6 months. I said, we'll give you 6 months. No, we'll give you a year. We'll give you a year to generate some revenue and see if you can make a go. And I said, well, a year should be okay. We'd bring them into the power industry, and first I looked at their workshops and saw what they did. And I said, well, we could maybe try and get an agency to tie up with Stork or Wärtsilä or one of the engine manufacturers. Then you would need something on the gas turbine side. You'd need a Westinghouse or a GE or Siemens. We could act as local agents. And I said, if I check out the territory. So over the next 6 months I travelled to Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia. And everywhere you went, the big upswing was in power, and they had no power. Manila was having brownouts 2 or 3 hours every day, so they couldn't get their industry functioning because of the brownouts. So I said, nobody needs power in 6 months, a year's time, they need it now. So in South Africa we had worked with various brokers in America that dealt in second-hand steam turbines mainly. So we re-established contact with them, and we set up a database of power plants that were immediately available, either from council projects or from equipment that hadn't gone through its whole lifespan. It had maybe around for 5 years and it had a 30-year lifespan. So we did that, and then I got called into the managing director's office on the 29th of February 1992. And he says, you've not made any money. I said, yeah, but that's only six. That was my 6 months up, 29th of February. He said, you've not made any money. I said, but we're very close on a couple of deals. No, he said, we've decided to close down the projects division. And you can move into the workshop, or you can move into their construction division. So I pleaded with him. I said, you can't just expect to get into the power industry in 6 months, and it sounded like a lost plea. But he says, no, all right, he says, we'll give you another 30 days. So on the 15th of February, we signed a contract with Hopewell Holdings in Manila for a 110 megawatt gas turbine at $23 million US. We made 500,000 on that. And then a week later we signed a contract with Sabah Electric for a Pratt & Whitney FT4 gas turbine at $4 million US, and we made 400,000 on that. So we made 900,000 in $900,000 US in March. That was 1992, and that was kind of the start of the whole thing. Vanderhorst got that big in the power industry. They built 4 power barges for the Philippines, 255 and 265 megawatt power barges, and they decided they didn't need a trading division anymore. They were building power stations. So I said, you're pulling out of it at the time that it's going right now, No, they wouldn't listen. So they wanted to close down the brokering side of the business. So I left them in 95, and I came back to Orkney to do the same thing. I now had this database of power plants that were immediately available all over the world. So we came back and started the same thing here. the Bank of Scotland had just shut down the Bank of Scotland. They sacked their manager and they sold the Bank of Scotland house. So in January I bought that, and Glenn McLaren was working for me at the time. He stayed there from January till July till I came home. And then we moved in with the wife. We had 2 kids then, both born in Singapore. We set up the business, and as I said, it was very difficult trying to manipulate international phone calls with 2 kids screaming in the background. So when we were looking for a new place, and then Herbert Harvey's business came up for sale, so we bought the property and renovated. We spent 159,000 on the renovation of the one half of the building. We moved in July 97. Yeah.
How was it possible to operate a business like that, broking, putting deals together with buyers and sellers on sometimes opposite sides of the globe, and do it all from here in Stromness?
Well, by this, I mean, we're jumping rapidly into the age of the internet, and this was in 97. We were probably one of the first companies in Orkney to have an email address and a website. Nobody knew what a website was really, and you had various people selling website services and things like that, but we had our own IT people and we built the business, and it was basically for a company that was trying to trade internationally. I mean, it was really, we were starting to see the potential was quite amazing, because we started off with this database. We had all this database, and we had, when somebody said, oh, I've got a 10 megawatt gas turbine for sale, we would get them to fax us the details. We would retype it and generate a document that looked a bit more professional and marketed and all that sort of thing. So the age of receiving faxes and retyping and all that was done. You still did it on the PC. Now you got an email in and you got JPEG photographs and you posted it, and then you converted it into a PDF document, and in the space of 20 minutes you had something that would have taken you 3 weeks before, you know, because you were looking at the time differences and you're going to get the information on this, and then you'd be asked, and you would have to get them. You couldn't send photographs by JPEGs or anything, you had to send it by post, so it might be 3 weeks later before you got all the data pulled together. And it was a very onerous kind of endeavour at that time.
What do you think it is the X factor that particularly makes your services so attractive all over the world? Because in any kind of business we hear of the competition and the challenges and different people applying all kinds of techniques to get into the business. So what is it that makes what you're doing here in Stromness so valued to so many customers all over the world?
Well, we have 28,000 people that get our monthly newsletter now, and we have a form that you can fill in to receive these. So far, I think 18,500 have registered to receive the monthly newsletter. So the vast majority of our clients are people who are asking for information. We differentiate ourselves in that the people that we deal with are dealing with engineers. When they're not dealing with comedians, they're dealing. See, 99% of the people in this business are brokers or auctioneers or whatever. They're selling services that they know nothing about. They're trying to sell a gas turbine or a steam turbine, and if the guy sending the guy a steam turbine details and he says, what's the back pressure, what's the steam turbine, what's their inlet parameters and all the rest of it, you can answer the question, whereas they had no idea what he's even talking about. So we deal in equipment that we know about, we focus on it. We do get railroaded off into different directions, strangely enough, but we try not to. We try and focus on gas turbines, steam turbines, diesels and boilers and